Hi, welcome to Online. I'm Bill Flaherty, and I'm going to be talking with two people who are experienced in the wonderful land of computers, or otherwise known as the computer world. First, we have Sean McCarthy, who's been an integral part of the computer world, been submersed in there, well, since 1985, has a vast experience of computer knowledge. And we have Rob Palangi, who's been programming for, how many years, Rob?
Almost 10 years now.
Almost 10 years, computer programmer as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the computer world and the cyberspace world that is now getting a lot of media hype as we speak. All right, so I guess the buzzword right now is cyberpunk, but actually a couple years ago the key word was hacker, and it kind of changes every now and then. Well, what I like to just start off with, okay, what is a hacker, or what is a cyberpunk, or is there a difference between the two?
All right, well, that was a good point you just put up on there about how it was hacker then cyberpunk. The names do change after a while. Like viruses nowadays, they were originally called logic bombs. You know, I found a old Omni magazine from 1984 that had the word logic bomb, and I'm like, what's that? And I'm reading, I'm like, oh, they're talking about viruses, okay. You know, but hacker is like a general term, like cyberspace, cyberpunk, cyber now. Cyberpunk was a weird term. It wasn't. I was originally also a hacker, if you want to call it that. We called ourselves elite and pirates and stuff. A hacker was someone who they got codes, they broke into boards, they got information from the boards, stuff like that. You know, they transmitted software. You know, but a true hacker was someone that can just sit down in a computer terminal, and they know the program that they're going inside and out. They're a good programmer or whatever, like a programmer like him, and they know about getting codes and stuff like me. So they're like the combination of the both of us. And you can just sit down and do anything they want with that board. Okay, so that's a rare form person. I was not a hacker.
Okay.
I was what you call elite. I knew hackers. I can do some limited stuff, like I knew some tricks of hacking, you know. But I couldn't sit down on a board and just go, all right, I can get in this. You know, I had to do research and stuff like that.
Yeah. So a cyberpunk would be more of a general term of people maybe in the computer world, and a hacker would be a more specialized version of it?
If you're in it, then a hacker is a very specialized person. Mm-hmm. See, a lot of times people are like...
is that term still used frequently now?
Amongst us, yes. I still use the term us, despite the fact I consider myself retired, but you know, I was in there for a while. But see, the funny thing about cyberpunk and stuff like that, I was really a pirate and stuff from like 1985 to 1990, right? That was my heyday. And it wasn't until like a year after I was out of it, I was talking to someone, he's like, oh, so you were cyberpunk then? I was like, what's that? And they told me about what it is, and I'm like, okay, I guess so.
All right, now just so people who don't know exactly, what is a pirate? You say that, so did you consider yourself just basically a pirate then? That was your specialty?
That was my specialty.
Okay, so explain to everybody what a pirate is.
A pirate is someone who takes software, codes, stuff like that. Now a code, what it is you, like an AT&T 800 number, you call up and, you know, ever do that, you know, you're supposed to call it, bounce off a satellite and you can call anywhere in the world with this little card. That's what a code would do. You get these people's codes. You get those, but one of the major things a pirate would do was he would pirate software, hence the term, you know, like even like when you copy tapes or something, like people will copy videos and stuff like that and then show them, you know, they call it copyright piracy. Same thing with software. And so what you do is you can find something like there was one game I got, Blue Radiance, right? I got that 2 weeks before it even hit the stores, right? And I had a crack of it. It was fully working. Crack is something they take all the write protection out so you can use it. And I go around. It was my job to call boards in the United States, give it to them. And also, I'll call European boards, give it to European boards. They'll give me what they got. And I'll get what they have, bring it to the United States.
Yeah, so I guess what the idea is that the hacker would be the one that would actually break into the program and crack it.
Right.
And you being a pirate would actually more or less distribute it, or
you were close. You were very good at that. A cracker. There was groups out there do nothing but crackers. They were called crackers. And what they would do is they would take the write protection off the software. All right. The hackers would be the ones that go into the boards and take it.
And take what?
Take the program itself.
Oh, you take the program itself.
Yeah, they'll take the program, give it to a cracking group. The cracking group will then take the thing off it. You know,
so this almost sounds like a military operation.
It's a huge network.
You had different people who had their jobs, you had leaders, you had the people working, soldiers working underneath it, and this basically just was a whole working kind of network.
Right. Basically, you have it right there. There was groups out there. As I was telling you earlier when we were talking outside, because you have an Apple. Granted, now people might scoff at it, but back in its day, it was a good machine. And there was a group called the Apple Mafia.
Yeah.
And that was their job. There was a group. And they'll have specialists and they'll have generalists. You know, the specialists would hack, the generalists would go around to board, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Everybody
like the
had
mafia
their
had the people who would beat people up, the people who would run the books, the
Exactly.
people who would be
It was just this giant network. And in the Commodore, when I first started off, I was an Atari hacker. Then I went to a Commodore Pirate, and I was running for all these different groups. Some of the most famous are like LOD, Legion of Doom, which some people might know about from the Operation Sun Devil, that big hacker crackdown they called it in 1990.
Yeah.
That Bruce Sterling even wrote a book about.
Yes, the hacker crack.
And interesting, all those guys got off, but
All right, well, okay, so you say your basic heyday was from 85 to 90, just about.
Right.
Right around that area.
Yeah, I was in the fringes like a couple years before, a couple years after.
All right,
you know.
so now we're in 1993 now, going to 1994. How has the hacking or computer world, as we just talked about, those people that we just talked about, the hackers, the crackers, the pirates, all those people, how has that whole world changed from 10 years ago?
To know how it changed now is just to see what it was back then. See, I wasn't
How close, in other words, let's take a look at the most commonly referenced is war games. Everyone's seen war games, everyone
Right.
knows that whole David Lightman kind of character. First off, was war games accurate? And second off, it wasn't accurate. If it was accurate, how is war games, use an example for war games and how it would be done today as opposed to back then?
Well, the technology is just totally different, War Games was very accurate for its time. You see him when he's calling to different boards. When you see him just calling to different boards, when he's like, what it was, he goes home and he's got the numbers coming across the screen and stuff like that, and he's talking to who was the Ali Sheedy, whoever it was, I don't know.
Yeah, she was in there.
I don't know. And
She was somewhere in there, I think.
and he was showing what those numbers are. What that was called war dialing. And that's one of the ways we hacked when we were young. Now you can't do it because you get caught. I'll explain. What happens is you get your phone. There's like 10,000 possibilities for a 4-digit number, something like that. And what you do is you tell your computer to call each one of those numbers, right? And so you go to bed, have your computer call those numbers. What happens? It calls, lets it ring about 4 times, and if it hits a modem, picks up, it hangs up.
Okay, a modem is what?
A modem is a device you use to call from your computer to another computer.
Okay.
All right. And what will happen is, and when you wake up in the morning, you'll have these list of numbers that there was a computer there. And it also, it won't tell you the ones that there was no computer there. And so then you manually, without the computer, you call those up and you look and see what anything happens. And that's how you would find the boards, and that's how they did it in war games. Now they have the AT&T and all them. They have ways to find out.
Yeah, they can tell now when you're just doing a sequential phone listings.
Right. That's a funny thing because once this group got I think it was the Pentagon. They got a couple numbers there, right? And and they didn't know what they did, right? And so they set up a war dialing. Problem is each one of the phones that they called were in an office right next to each other, right? So what would happen? They'll call one, stop, then the next one will ring, stop, the next one will ring. So this guy was like sitting there going, seeing the phones ring right after another. So they knew something was up, and that's when they realized what war dialing was, when they saw all these phones ringing right after each other.
Okay, so
to get back to your original question, where did hacking come from? Where's it going now?
how's it changed?
Right. Well, see, originally when hacking started, it was AT&T that started it. They got the credit for it. They developed the C language. Right now it's C++. Is that the major language? Yes. That they're trying to. That's the major programming language. And C, they had this huge language that was supposed to be real good, that they weren't telling anybody but their employees. And all these programmers, they wanted to know. They're like, what's this great language? We need to know this language. And they weren't telling anybody. So they're like, okay, you don't tell us, we'll break in your computer and find out. And that's how the hacking originally started. They would break into the AT&T computers, find out, just study the language. No malicious harm,
Yeah.
And then they had the people long distance they call, and they're like, well, we need a code to call long distance. We don't want to pay to call them,
All right, so Rob, you're a programmer. Have you ever been enticed or asked or have you ever wanted to become a quote-unquote hacker, go into that whole thing, to zip in, zip out? Is that what prompted you to become a programmer? What's the deal?
No, I started programming when I was 13, 14 years old. For Christmas, I got a Tandy Coco 16. That was 16K
Radio
now.
Shack, yes.
16K now it's 16,000 bytes. Yeah, it's a digital watch has 16K. Right now, it's up to the megabytes. The Cray computer is the highest it is right now, which can do 800 million calculations in a second, which is just phenomenal. I didn't do programming. Start doing programming to get into hacking. I really didn't even know what it was, except from watching war games.
Yes.
I just started learning BASIC, Logo, the original 4 languages they had when they first came out.
Cobalt, yeah.
Cobalt, Pascal, which Pascal became C, and then eventually C++, and then C++, and then they have tons of different languages now. VAX,
Turtles,
Linux,
yeah.
So I thought about doing it. I just didn't know how to go about doing it without really getting myself into trouble.
Yeah.
So I just programmed and try to learn as much as I possibly could.
Okay, getting into trouble. Now, Sean,
Yes.
you were in that world. Okay, you must have somewhere along the lines run into someone who got bagged.
Oh, yes.
Obviously. So I don't know, just talking to you, I've talked to you about the subject a little bit. You used to say sometimes that maybe the government wasn't as stringent as it is now. They used to kind of be like, oh, these are just kids playing. And then when they began to fully understand the technology and the science of it, then they really started to get worried about it. Maybe you want to
Yeah,
expound on that.
it's a classic problem especially with the government and stuff like that. At first, they ignore it, because it's what's that? You hear about a kid with a computer. It's like it's this new technology. No one really knows, but it's like, what harm can they do? Next they pull out your credit rating and change it all around.
Yeah.
There was there was a guy. I think he wrote some lyrics for the Grateful Dead. He was on a board called The Well, and he got in an argument with some computer hackers at the time. And so what they did is they didn't like him. So the next day he logged on. He saw his credit rating on that computer.
Yeah.
So that shows you what they can
All
do.
right, so
but,
time out. First off, what is a computer board so people know about
Okay,
this?
a computer board is it's a host system. In a way, it could be a mainframe or it's just someone at home with his home computer, right? And what it is, it's anybody from anywhere in the world can call that computer through a telephone and talk. Get information, get games, get software, get anything.
So you type out what you're saying to each person,
Yes.
and then you see it on the screen, and then people can react to it and
Exactly.
do
That's
things like that.
that's how it's done.
And actually, now, I mean, obviously, with the big change up of computers becoming more and more and more part of our life, they have like
Right.
In other words, this used to be more of an underground thing. Now we have CompuServe,
Right.
which is now it's going into the lives of everyone as opposed to be a tiny little world.
Right. And that's how the law gets involved. See, at first the law didn't think much about it. They're like, well, who's it going to hurt? And next their computers started getting broken into.
Yeah.
And that's their own fault, some of the stuff, because no one knew anything about password protection there, They were
Yeah.
like, their passwords be like, password. It's like, thanks. That was difficult.
Our password is ABCDE. We'll never figure that one out.
Don't laugh. That's been done, And so they'll get into these computers, and so the government got all nervous. They're like, oh, these people have the ultimate power. There was once, they arrested this one kid who they thought could blow up the world by typing one little string command. A string is just, like program command, right?
Yes.
They arrested him because the big boast was, oh, we can get to the missile silos.
Yeah.
Well, the kid went to prison. He's been out for about 4 years now. We're not dead yet. If he was vindictive, I think we would have been.
I guess so.
And so the problem was when they crack down too hard sometimes because they try and make an example because they can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
So what they do is they'll take one board, shut everything down. But then you get into problems like during the Sun Devil crackdown in 1990, they shut down Steve Jackson. You know who Steve Jackson is? He made a role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons. Well, he came up with one called Car Wars, stuff like that. And so what happened was he had someone working with him, and they had a little bulletin board, and that's a good thing he has where you can call up and see what games he has, right? He's working on, and so you can download those games that he has, right? Say he's working on a new version of Car Wars. And you can
Downloading is
okay. Get information from one computer to yours, so it's permanently on your computer unless you erase it.
Yeah.
And so what happens is
So you can take like you said, take this game,
Right.
download it, would be putting it on a disc or
or
something.
disk,
saving
hard disk.
it,
You could print it, anything.
Anything you want.
any material.
and uploading would be just the opposite.
Just
taking
you
it
put
and
it,
shooting it out.
Put it in an airboard. You are correct.
Okay.
And so you get this information, and the only thing he asked was, yeah, you can get all these games you want free. Take them. But the only thing he has asked is when you call back, you let me know how you liked it, what changes could be done.
Yeah.
Oh, the government wasn't too happy with that, so they shut him down. They raided him. They took every piece of computer equipment he had, took everything, shut down the board.
No, what was the government's reason for
Okay.
doing this?
Oh.
What-
I believe it was a
what was
cyberspace game.
What was
no.
the press release?
It wasn't the-
in other
okay,
words,
it
not
wasn't
the real
the-
reason, but what
okay.
did they say it was?
It wasn't a cyberspace game. It was related to that because they started a cyberspace game, and that's what originally attacked. No, what happened is he was making this game called GURPS, Generic Universal Role-Playing System, and it was a thing called cyberspace in it. It was this like little game like in the future, stuff like that. But and so that's what originally caught their attention. Like, oh, are they teaching kids to hack? And that was pretty much the press release. They're teaching kids to hack.
Oh, I see.
But
Okay.
what was the E91 document, that E911, that's a very long discussion. What happened was years ago, there are people...
The government has found us, folks. They've shut us down. They know what we're talking about. If you see guys coming with M16 shooting everyone, please call the police.
See, no,
Why call the police? Right?
see NSA officials rushing
This never happened, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so
back
anyway.
into the left. So what happened was... The E91 document, it's emergency 911. When you call the police department, you dial 911.
Yep.
And, all the information goes, all this, they dispatch people. What they did was, these kids, when they were hacking out AT&T, they were just looking around, see what information they can get. They found this file called E911 document. It was actually this huge thing, the name, but they bridged it down to E911.
Yeah.
And so what they did was they were like, hey, so one kid downloaded it, right? Looked at it and got all this stuff. He's like, wow, this is cool, right? And so he gave it to some friends.
Yeah.
And somehow, as things go around, a friend gets it to a friend, stuff like that, and it got onto Steve Jackson's board. And they thought, and what the big thing was, that's a document you cannot have, a legal document. By having that, you're over. I think they priced it at $97,000 worth of damage to the phone company and all that, right?
Yeah.
And so these kids went to trial, right? And they were saying, you damaged the phone company. This stuff is not allowed out. So the lawyer pulled out a book he bought at a bookstore for $10 with all the E911 information in it. So the case was thrown out.
Yes, obviously.
It took 2 years for Steve Jackson to get his computer back, all that stuff. He just got it back recently.
Uh-huh.
And matter of fact, the agent, I think his agent Foley of the FBI who ran the sting operation, he got severely criticized by the judge for flagrant violation of the First Amendment, all that stuff.
Yes.
There's also been computer boards one in Texas, that ran a newspaper, electronic newspaper, just basically a newspaper published on a computer, and once every, with a publishing date, once a month, every few weeks, they'll call your computer and send you the information,
Yeah.
They shut that down, saying that wasn't a real...
That was giving away secret advice to the military codes, and whatever they want to say.
They were saying that is not a legal publication because it's not on paper.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point now, is that not only are we, since technology and, cyberspace and all the computer world is getting more, now they're actually forced to think about laws. Now another thing another thing is something called, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the laws and how they're affected now that we're dealing with computers, and we're going to talk about how privacy is affected. Can someone go into your mailbox and open up your mail, or can someone go into your email and open it up? We'll talk about that after this.
That's a good question. I was wondering that. But I never got to finish on how we...
Man, bitch, get in here!
Sorry I'm late. You know I love my roughneck.
Man, where you been?
I'm sorry, I had cheerleading practice and I had to trim my hair.
Man, Mom's been beeping me all day long. She's been cooking and everything. You've been out crimping your hair. She was cooking ham hocks and collard greens, all that grits and stuff like that. Man, when you finish, you better tell her that the shit was on time. You know what I'm saying?
Are we eating a little late?
On time. It tastes good.
Oh, I can't get with the lingo.
Stop! Stereotype. A conventional, formulaic, and usually oversimplified conception, opinion, or belief. A person, group, event, or issue considered to typify or conform to an unvaried pattern or manner, lacking any individuality.
Just because it's written here.
Doesn't mean it has to be written up here.
Free your mind.
Your groove, I do deeply dig. No walls, only the bridge. My supper dish, my crocketesh wish. Bring it, break it. I couldn't
I said I knew you were coming. Yeah, have a beer. Okay.
No, I couldn't ask for another. Groove is in the heart. Groove is in the heart. Groove is in the heart. Groove is in the heart.
Come on, Chris. We're gonna do shots now.
Watch out.
The depth of who the groove moves us to the end loop. We'll go through to one year's a who. I couldn't ask for another. No, I couldn't ask for another. DJ Soul was on a roll. I've been told he can't be sold. He's not vicious or malicious, just lovely and delicious. I couldn't ask for another.
Something looks in this test, so
heart got a boy you wanna know. Delightful, truly delightful. Life making it, doing it, especially at a show. Feeling kinda high like a Hendrix haze. Music makes motion moves like a maze. All inside of me, heart especially. Hilt of the rhythm, where I wanna be. Come on, flowing, glowing with electric eyes. You dip to the dive, baby, you'll realize. Baby, you'll see the funk inside of me. Baby, you'll see that rhythm is the key. Get witty, can't think quitty, stomp on the street when I hear funk blue playing pop pipe. Follow her to shoot, baby, just sing about the groove. Sing it.
The groove is in the heart. The groove is in the heart. Groove is in the heart. Groove is in the heart.
Hi, welcome back to Online. We're here with Sean McCarthy and Rob Palangi. Sean McCarthy, a member of the computer underworld for many, many years, and Rob Palangi, a computer programmer. Okay, now when we, just before we broke, we were talking about email and the privacy of it. One thing we didn't get to before we left, I asked you, what are some of the penalties that the government can put on you for quote-unquote hacking or cracking?
I'm not sure the exact penalties. I've heard stories from little to very extreme, like to killing somebody. But it's mostly corporations. I can get into that. But
what do you mean what's going on?
oh no, the corporations never do anything wrong, folks. IBM. So anyway,
so do you think that if? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. What happens is the NSA, National Security Agency, they're them and the FBI, they're really the ones that work against computers, computer fraud now. The NSA investigates, they don't do a lot of the work, they turn it over to the FBI, and the FBI does it from there. And what the FBI does is they get you on Wire Fraud Act, that's what it's called. Just a lot of fraud and stuff they'll consider, because it is, you're using someone's software that you weren't entitled to use, you're using someone's credit card, or, it's their credit card,
Yeah.
And plus they can tag along the little things, like,
I don't know, this might be too specific, but would there be a bigger penalty for, let's say, a cracker, someone who cracked the program, than the hacker who broke in, to the guy who like you, a pirate who distributed?
There's never really been a set case that it's all being. They said it really after the Sun Devil crackdown. I keep going to that, but
that was probably the major.
That was supposedly the apex, the crux of all of it. In 1990, they say everything coming from there to now, it's from 1990 onward. That's how things are being decided. What happened in 1990? We didn't have all these people protecting us and all that, and they had the EFF based here in Cambridge now is out there. It's called the Electronic Freedom Foundation. Okay. They were based trying to help people like who were falsely accused, stuff like that, or who were arrested and charged with crimes they really shouldn't be arrested for, like the E911 document. They defended those people. They're against hacking and stuff. Because there's different kinds of hacking. You can do malicious hacking and stuff like that, And they're against hacking and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but they're out there protecting people's rights. And that's how you get to email.
Yeah, I would say protecting people's rights. Now, for those of you who don't know what email is, why don't you explain it?
Okay, email is just like getting a letter at your house. You get mail at your house, you open it up, it's addressed to you, and stuff like that. Email on a computer board, either the internet or a regular board, someone will write you a mail, write you a message, and it'll be sent to you. No one else can read it. It'll be sent to your name or handle, whatever you have.
Yeah, it's like when you go into a computer bulletin board, you get an account.
Right.
And that account is almost like, well, not your home address, but it's like, you can put in your stats or make up your own stats or whatever, and then it's like that's where it goes to. You have a little place where you can go and like check your messages and check for other stuff as well. So, so you were saying about email. Yes, for those of you wondering, we have a cat loose here. This is WCAT, Winthrop Community Access Television, also known for the wild cat that's allowed to lounge around. So, Grizz, what do you think about hacking? How you doing? Sorry, this cat's in. So try to ignore the cat. Maybe you don't see it. Anyway, try to say, back to email. Don't look at me that way. Please, Sean.
So email. Yeah, so what it was email after a while, by a court order, became like regular mail. You're not supposed to read it. It's the same federal offense if you open regular mail and if you open email. All right? And the problem was, though, a lot of times it was disregarded by the FBI. They're like, see, who cares? But they'll confiscate all, like on a couple boards, they'll confiscate it all, right? And next thing, start reading everybody's private mail. And a lot of stuff is private, like, say like I'm dating some girl on a board, right? And she's telling me how she's feeling and stuff, like, because we can't be dated. So next they got this very private letter, because that's what it is, it's a letter. And they're like, well, now they know everything about
And
me.
actually, when you're talking about being on the other side of the computer bulletin board, it's probably a million times easier to zip in and read someone's mail without them knowing about it, as opposed to like actually zipping open a letter, holding it up to the light, or whatever you want to do.
The good thing about email, though, it's instantaneous. Pretty much. It's sent. You don't have to wait a couple days for it to get sent there. Once you send it, it's there.
Okay. So, Rob, you've been on a computer bulletin. Both of you, of course, have been on computer bulletin boards.
Yes.
Yours were, as far as part of your business aspect, business as far as your pirating is going, and Rob for recreation. You, Sean, for recreation as well. Okay. Now, what's the basic gist of this computer board? Is it just used for the people to do shady dealings in? Is it a meeting place? Or what kind of places do the boards attract?
I think it's all of it. You?
Well, from my experiences, it's mostly both. I mean, there are boards that are just for meeting people, that like people who aren't really apt to like talking, who's kind of shy, who don't really know how to meet people. It's a good way for that way. But then you also have the drawback of someone who's sitting in front of the computer for 8, 12 hours a day, not really getting out to meet people. So it's both sides of the coin.
All right, so Sean, will you say, as far as both of you have spent, obviously, you being a programmer and you being a pirate, have spent lots of hours behind a computer.
Right.
And I, in the simple way of, I've programmed little and I've done it myself, as for not hacking, but just played games or whatever on my computer. It's like, what's the deal about the computer world in general? As you can say, it's a place where you can do a lot of stuff, you can meet a lot of people, you can maybe get into the world you were talking about, but on the same token, you are behind that screen for hours and hours. What to you is good and bad about the world? As far as both, why don't we start with you, Rob?
I think it's good that it gets people information. I mean, I hate to brag about this, but in like 10 years, information is going to be the highest commodity. No more gold, no more nothing, but information. It's who can get the information. Computers is a good way of doing that. It puts us on top of that. But it also has its bad points. It has a social aspect of it where, I mean, you sit behind a computer for 12 hours, you have no human contact. You're really just talking to someone else through the computer. It's like talking to someone on a phone. So someone who sits behind the computer for 10, 12 hours a day really doesn't know what it's like to be outside.
How to relate to people.
Relate to people, which is pretty much a necessity at our day and age right now. Maybe 10, 15 years down the road, maybe everyone's going to be plugged into a computer.
Yeah, exactly. In other words, like Sean brought up a good point too. Now we have cyberspace, which is a alternate reality. Like who said, well, what was bad with original reality, folks? It's like there's lots of great reality out there if you go to look, Okay, so Sean, you were in the computer world. You were actually not just a casual meeting people on the computer. You were an actual pirate. Did you fit the antisocial profile that is often put into these pirates and people? I mean, honestly, be honest with yourself. Like,
I have.
And also the people that you knew. Is there anyone that didn't fit the stereotype as far as that character is going?
Actually, yes, on a lot of things there. Of course, I wasted my life on a lot of parts of my computers, and what it was is, we used to joke around that my monitor was actually an artificial sun for me, I turn it on, that's my light,
Yeah.
I never saw the daytime. What the hell's that?
Yes.
Daylight? What the hell? And the funny thing is, it's like, I dropped out of school back in 1989. I went back and later finished. But that's when I really went into the computers. I was a pirate before that, right? I knew some. But the funny thing was, when I left school and stopped interacting with people, that's when I really became into this. It's like, and which was funny, when I went back to school and they're teaching me basic, and I'm like, the day before I was running around a NASA board.
Yeah, exactly.
I failed a basic class, by the way, but the stereotypes.
Yeah, like the David Lightman. It's just like
it's the stereotypes. Yeah, it's at times you see classic examples. You see someone, I'll see someone. I'm like, what's your handle? Because the
handle's the name you use on the
aliases. Yes,
yeah.
It's like
LC being or whatever.
Right, mine's Duck Tracy. That's one of the ones I use. I've used others. A lot of pirate ones. Like you don't keep the same one when you're in pirates a lot of times, but You look at someone, you say, what's your handle, or you need one, because for some it's the only escape,
Yeah.
But others, like, you look at them, you're like, because we were discussing during a break, it's like, you might know someone's a programmer or whatever. It's like, back in the mid-'80s to early '90s, where we are now, but the early '90s, people were like, the stereotype for a computer hacker was, or a pirate or whatever, was this geeky 14-year-old pimply kid sitting in a room somewhere, but one of the main people didn't realize there was adults, middle-aged adults, running the scene, because they were the ones that could afford all this equipment. And so a lot of the people I knew who was running the scenes were in their 40s.
Yeah.
A lot of the pirate groups were that old, Yeah. And so that broke the stereotypical bound in a way, because I'll go to a meet and meet some of these people, right? Because we'll get together every once in a while, and I'll be one of the youngest ones there. Yeah. And they like me because, I left school, and, they didn't like the fact I left school, but since I was devoting all my time to them, they're like, okay, we'll teach you. And so here I am. I'm with a bunch of people who have kids. Some are retired from work, some are still in there. And here I am, this kid. They're like, so you going back to school? Yeah.
Okay, so Rob, you were more of a programmer than what Sean did. Is there a class differential? If you know the programmers, do they look down on people like Sean? Because if you really look at it, the programmer is the one that creates all of these programs, the games, all this stuff, and people that are in Sean's world basically took it for free and therefore cut into their profits, cut into their livelihood. Is there an anger towards hackers, or is there just an ambivalence, or?
It's a little bit of both. Basically, I think the programmer class is split into two different parts. I have interacted with programmers who have been antisocial, who don't know how to interact with people because, they've gone into bulletin boards not for pirate reasons or hacker reasons, but just to meet people, and they're stuck behind that computer for 12, 14, 15 hours a day, and they don't know how to social act with the people. On the other side, I've met people who hate hackers because the computer program is their livelihood, and hackers and pirates are taking that from them. It's like an artist. Like if you copy a tape, the artist gets no money. The musician gets no money for that tape. But on both sides, it's really difficult to say.
I'd like to add something on that.
Very good, John. Go ahead. Feel free.
Thank you.
We'll be taking calls, so I'm just kidding. There's no phone.
That'd be good. But the problem with because he's saying the hackers hate people, or they hate it because they look down upon by society, because a lot of people don't know why someone hacks. There's many reasons. Some reasons for money, some are just knowledge. Back in my day, most of it was knowledge and the imagined power. Granted, you might have some power, real or imagined. There's power there. But it's not much. What kind of power is it to saying, okay, I can ruin your credit rating, or
Okay, so
I'll have them repo your car.
So let me. Are you done?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
But
sorry, folks.
I just wanted to bring this one point out there. It's a lot of times when people pirate software and copy software, some of the biggest ones are, why pay why are you going to pay $200 for a program that you're not going to use much? It's like that's a waste of money. It didn't cost them that much to make it. It's going to be a good seller. Why sell for that much? Why sell for $60? You can sell for $20, $30, and make money off it. That's the funny thing. When I was back in '85, we'll see a program going for $30, but that's too expensive. If it was 10 to 20, we'd buy it. We would buy it. Most of us. But now it's like 30. Okay, we'll buy it for 30. You see 60. It's like no.
Well, that's just natural. The price range.
But the hackers will look down, because what the problem is, it's all hype in a way, because they think, oh, they're ruining our business. 100,000 programs have been pirated, right? Well, we've seen it in the Gulf War. They said our oil supply has been hurt. No, there was no supply. They just jacked the prices up. That's what is happening. A lot of times when people pirate the software, you don't get the documentations to it. You don't get the instructions. You don't get anything. You have to feel the way. You might not know the whole thing.
And also, they have been, but now they're instituting in the actual program itself passwords that you actually need.
Yeah, that's the crackers. They go in and take those out.
Okay.
As I mentioned before. That's been around for a while. But what happens is, a lot of times, people like me or someone, or like a pirate, they'll get a program, they'll get a crack off a board, right? They'll play it and then go, this is a good game. And they'll go out and buy it because they want the documentation, they want the support if something goes wrong with it. So that it actually
it's
helps
almost more
them.
like a free, and your idea
free
is a free trial. So you
right.
can see if you actually, since the game's so expensive, why not take it and see if it's worth paying all the money?
Because we bought, games was my primary, because that's what I was, so, but there's other programs out there, so, but I mostly reference the games because that was my thing back then. But we've all bought programs that all of us in the computer area that you spend this absurd amount of money for, right? And you can't return it unless something's wrong with it. So you run under a magnet and return it,
Yeah. And then you can't even get money, you just get a new game.
Yeah, it's like,
Because, they
you
could've just
spend
copied
$60, $70, and for a kid, because that's where a lot of it, that could be his whole week's check or 2 weeks' check, depending on if he works part-time. If someone works at like the 7-Eleven part-time after school, that's like 2 weeks' pay for him, and he's going to go get this thing that he's going to hate.
That's true. Okay, so you were talking a little before about hackers' motivation or a computer world person's motivation. First off, you said you can make money in it. How?
Okay.
And what was your motivation for going into that world? What motivated you to go in? You can answer
yes.
those in any order.
Okay, well, we'll take the first question. How do you make money in it?
Giving all people lots of bad ideas.
Yes.
FBI's gonna love us, folks.
There's
Yeah,
one thing I would like to say is don't do this at home. You can you sell them codes. You sell them software. You sell those boards like you pay $10, get 10,000 megs of programs, all yours. Not 10,000 megs, but 1,000 megs of programs. Any program you want, for $10.
Megs is
just a unit space. Thank you, a million bytes. And but other ways it's like PBXs. I forget exactly what it stands for. Do you know?
PBX?
Yeah, it's the corporation's telephone system. But companies have this. I forget what it really stands for.
Exchange,
Yeah, I really forget. Public Business Exchange, something like that. I forget.
PBX, I don't know.
Well,
Is that
not-
a sandwich? Peanut butter exchange, who knows?
No. But what it is those are real hard to come by because if you hack them out, the corporations will never know unless you use it excessively because you got so many people calling in and out all the time because a lot of them like 1-800-collect numbers, that you call in Libya for 20 minutes. Though I never called Libya for 20 minutes, they won't be, they'll be like, okay, and so you can sell those. Mafia buy them, drug users buy them, all that stuff. So in about 3 years ago, you can sell them for like $500 a piece. They're a hot commodity. What I'll do is I'll trade like 10 credit card numbers for one of those, and I used to keep one just for myself, and so I never sold them. I never believed in making money on this. Another way is a lot of people don't realize how dangerous it is if you're talking any kind of weird business or private business, anything, on a cellular phone.
Yeah.
Because you can track people on a cellular phone. You go in there, it's a chip, and all chips are programmable in a cellular phone. So you go in there, I don't know if you know anything about this, it's programming, but you go in and you can listen to anybody's conversation. You just change the little dial thing in there.
Frequency.
Yeah, change the frequency. You can listen to anything you want if it's on a cellular phone,
Wow.
And also, you can track them. The FBI fully denies this, but
We talked last week.
and but so the thing is the drug dealers, mafia also will pay for those so they can oscillate the frequencies, change where they are, and be more secure. So you can make money very easily. You just got to be a little shady. Also, problem is now that's how you getting things are getting more dangerous now because mafia's getting in there. Mafia like, well, why pay you every time? Why don't you come work for us?
Yeah.
Or there's a group, say like HHH, some group, right? I'll just make that up there, right?
Okay.
Their primary is cracking out PBXs. Oh, the mafia's like, okay, we'll give you that, but we'll protect you. Here, give us a few of those, and anytime any other crack groups bother you, we'll take care of them. That's how things. That's how. Also, corporations who are really sick of them getting, like, say, like this is one pirate or one computer hacker that's taking them down, and they can't be caught. Well, next you get a security agent show up at your house in an MP5, and then you get shot. Really, I've heard 2 cases about that. They'll send some. We call them co-ops, corporate cops. That's what they stand for, right? And they'll kill you. It's a very rare thing, but now, so things again.
We are talking about millions of dollars being
right.
used.
So
are you gonna understand where people get irate enough to say, look, I don't want to lose any more millions, do what you have to. And,
Exactly.
all this stuff that never gets on the surface.
yeah, and things getting more dangerous too because now you get out of work military people from like Eastern Bloc nations who spent their entire military careers trained to destroy Western computers. Now they're out of a job. So who are you going to work for? They're going to find the people who say, okay, they start bribing corporations saying, we're going to launch this virus at you unless you destroy, you give us this money, or they look for one corporation to destroy another corporation's thing.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so that's all the money making thing. What motivated you to go in there?
okay, what?
We all want to know. We all want the dirt on Sean McCarthy. What prompted him?
I honestly do not know. What happened was my mother bought me an Atari 800 XL.
Alan Alda.
Yeah.
Alan Alda did endorse that, folks.
I still have the poster sitting in my room, all right? And
And I won't remember Atari, by the way. I just remember the 2600.
so, yes, the cameraman does. He has one, I believe. And I was lucky enough to sell mine for $100.
Look at my television.
So what happened was my mother bought me this computer, and she was like, I was like, oh, great, thanks. I'm looking at the computer, I'm like, thanks, what do I do? And we knew somebody that knew somebody who was a teacher at some school, I won't say where.
Very good.
And they had a lab of Ataris. Maybe that can help.
Pi has a lot of apples.
Maybe that's how they can narrow the
No,
search,
Sean,
find out one school, right?
Was it an Atari 400 or 800?
800, right?
Ooh.
And so we went there, and the guy was a pirate. So he gave me all this stuff, and that's how I was like, so I found this way to learn, And then when I upgraded to Commodore and I got a modem, and I was like, wow, what's this?
Yeah.
And so I called CompuServe, right? I met a couple people on CompuServe, don't ever call it. And and then I found my way onto a pirate board.
And then all kind of stuff.
And what happened was, I wasn't a pirate really at the time. I was just some kid who didn't know what he was doing. And I called this one board, and I hacked in by mistake. And they were like, it was just an accident. I didn't know, like, hey, you're in. I was like, and that's how I get it in. And then after a while, you're getting all this stuff, right? First, it's free software, and you're like, this is cool, And then you get some code, and you're like, that's cool. But then it gives you a little superiority complex too. Here you are, 15, 16 years old, right? You're doing stuff that no one around's even heard of, no one can dream of. People at school, they're like, oh, let's go out and get drunk. It's like, I got an account at NASA. Guess what I'm doing tonight?
And this was all before the whole stuff happened, before it really blew up. People knew what was going on, so it was a really a completely world that no one knew about, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
The same with programming.
Yeah. So Rob, what was your motivation to get into programming?
Good
Personally,
segue.
what?
Good segue. Yeah.
Personally, I've thought about going to many different careers, and Sean will probably guess, and you probably know. But computers was just something that nobody really tapped into yet, and it was just something that really interested me. So one Christmas I got my Tandy 16 Coco, and
I can see a battle between the Atari 800 and the Tandy 16 Coco.
I'll throw a Vic 16 in there and throw you all up.
How about the Timex Sinclair?
the 4K.
Sorry. You'll get instruction booklets with this conversation if you call C18 now and ask for them.
So I learned BASIC. I sat there and taught myself BASIC. It was just a self-taught thing. So, like Sean said, at school, when everyone's like, "Yo, let's get drunk," I'm like, "No, I want to program." I'm like, "What's that?"
It's power. It is.
So, and when I became a junior and a senior, when programming and computers started to pick up, I was on top of everybody else.
Yeah.
I could have basically taught the class.
Yeah.
So I was one step above everybody else. And it's just interesting just to sit down and go, well, how can I make a program do this? Or how can I make something do this? And eventually you get into it so much, like Sean said, you get so wrapped up into it. And nowadays you learn so much that like computers are like the way of the future. You read about cyberspace, you read about information, highways, information whatsoever. And you realize, well, maybe they are.
Yeah, you read about things that are coming, they're like, in a few years you'll be doing this. It's like, I did that 5 years ago,
All right, so people out there who don't know, what is the information highway, in your opinion, or the fact versus opinion, or what you think it is, or whatever?
Go, Sean.
Give me time to formulate this one. You can go.
Information highway, my opinion of it is basically, like I said before, information is going to be the commodity, the highest commodity. You're going to be, instead of buying, it's basically become a barter system. Instead of trading like information for money or something, information for whatever, you'll be trading information for information. And corporations are going to want information. You get a hacker who can break into like a rival company and take their secrets or take their research and development and sell it. You could sell it to the other company and you can make money. So it's going to be a giant competition. The information highway is just basically all this information being plugged into this giant system. It's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like an octopus. And the octopus is like all this information, and its tentacles are like the highway that leads out to many different people. It's going to be kind of scary. I think we're a little bit more advanced than we should be.
I believe it.
All right, so Sean, anything to add to that?
He hit it right there. Information, there's a saying in the cyberpunk world, if you want to call it. I really don't like calling it that term.
Okay, so wait, what's the deal with Billy Idol? How come he was all of a sudden a cyberpunk after all these years? No, Sean, just to totally get a little silly now, the computer people didn't like that, did they? They were upset at that.
He unfortunately set up an email address for him, an email address where you can send a mail and tell him how you like him and stuff. Boy, that guy got hate mail. He got
the guys that were like, yeah.
Step one, a friend of mine, Josh Russo, asked him for $5,000.
He never got the letter back. I think he sent him another one.
But he got pounded with all those people saying, "What are you doing? You're not a cyberpunk. You're not this. You're not that. Shut up." You know, because it was like in a way you roll.
He was just jumping on the fad.
Yeah, he was jumping on the bandwagon.
He saw it on time and go, "Oh, that'd be really cool if I could put that on my album." Just like it just did it that way.
He later on apologized, saying he was not trying to say he was one. He was just trying to reflect us.
Okay.
And if you ever seen that video shot to the system, boy, what a reflection that was.
I know. Yeah, computer hackers often have cameras going out of their eyes. Folks.
But what was
all the time.
Okay, the information highway.
Get back to the information.
Yeah, we have a slogan in our cyberpunk way. Like I said, I say cyberpunk for lack of a better word for a general understanding. Sure. And information wants to be free. Information has to be leaked out. All that. People are going to find out about it. You know, and he is correct. The information highway. The people are fighting for information. We got pirate groups out there, or cracking groups, hacking groups. What are you going to call them? Like I know a group who I could, probably get in trouble for this, but they're trying to hack out the blue books. The UFO thing.
Okay.
And I've gotten some information on it. That's their primary mission, is to hack out and do the UFOs. There's others doing the Kennedy thing, stuff like that. And I think that's pretty much what the information highway will be, because nothing will be secret anymore. You can't keep that many secrets because people go and get them. It'd be real hard. If you want to keep a secret, write it down on paper. Get the pen.
Get the pen out. Yeah, but that poses an interesting problem now, because the information highway is going to be...
That's why you said we're going too fast.
Yeah, it's going to be plugged to everyone's TV. It's going to be a mixture of your phone line, your TV, and your computer all in one big glop, so that every little interaction that you do will be pretty much worked into the same, same channel, same way, like on the same cable or whatever. And so this poses an interesting question now that, back in the day, as we say, the world's changing. When you were in the world, it was like a very small section off into the world. Now, as we get into, by the year 2000, it won't be totally unlikely that everyone is going to be on a bulletin board.
Well, the thing, another thing too, it's as we get more and more complex, it'll be harder and harder to break into boards. There'll be specialized individuals that can do it. Back in my day, when I could go down, I feel like, when I was, but it's like back really 5 years or 3 years in the computer world. You can put it in dog years almost. It's 7 for each one or 5 for each one if you want to cat world or whatever it is, And it was so much different then. You can't do this. You can barely do the same things now that you could do then. And you gotta be very, very educated, and know what you're doing. The system inside and out if you want to do it. Like, I don't know if you want me to get into it at all, but I can tell you some of the ways we used to hack and stuff. If we got at the time.
Okay, just really quickly, segue into it.
All right.
How are we doing on time, folks? What's the deal? Should we?
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
All right. So what would happen was there was different methods. Like one was called trashing. That's the most common. You go through the people's trash. You go to their house. They're throwing the stuff out. You take the garbage. You go home. You look through the garbage, find out the stuff they got there. Then
that's funny too, because a lot of people kind of have the misconception that it's all done behind the computer screen. We actually you got to do a lot of legwork in order to really find out people.
Right. Exactly. War game. You do the research. But that's like I said. That's us. That's how I call myself a magician. In a way, because I know the tricks. Those are tricks. Those aren't. A real hacker, someone who knows the system inside out, will just sit there and okay.
Okay.
That's a very rare person indeed.
Yeah.
But another way we do it was the most popular way, and I mentioned to Rob before and some other things, you would call a board, right? Like say an NSA board or any board like that you wanna hack out, right? You open your buffer. Now buffer is a computer thing where it saves all the information that you're getting on the screen to your computer. You open it, you call it. As soon as you get that screen, log on screen, saying enter a password or whatever, you log off.
Okay.
You close the buffer, then you look what you have, and usually you can tell what kind of program that is. So you'd be like, okay, that's a...
Set up with the ANSI codes are set up.
Right, you can just tell, okay, that's an A-type program. So with that A-type program, I've dealt with that before, so I know how I can get into that type of program. Or if you don't know, you call the people you do know and give them that give them that little snapshot you have, and they'll like, okay, I've dealt with this program. So you get all these people working on it, and all you were on that board were 10 seconds. They don't even know you were there. Another way to do it is, if no one knew about that, no one even dealt with that program before, they never call that board for a while. They start calling other boards that have similar programs, and they start attacking that one, trying to hack into that. And once they get into that and break that kind of program, then they'll call that big board, that main target. And so there it is. You spent hours and hours and hours hacking that board that's never been called except for 10 seconds. And so they get on. That's how they're like, how did they get here? How did they do this? How did they know this? Because they went around. That's some of the tricks you do,
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about what these hackers do now. All right. So just really quickly, we can't talk about it. We signaled that we got to wrap it up soon. So one with you guys? Like I said, the information now is coming, the computer world's coming. How do you see the world changing in the wake of computers, entering into every single facet of our lives, it seems now? Good and bad sides, Rob.
Good sides, I mean, I've probably said this too many times already, but information is going to be where it's at. It's good in a way because, I don't know, it's just information, like Sean said, information needs to be free. You can't keep secrets from American people. I mean, basically that's propaganda. We just might as well just live in 1940 Germany again. But the bad sides is the social aspect of it. People are going to be stuck behind computers. They're not going to be able to human contact anymore. And like I said, we're just moving too fast. It's like the Industrial Revolution. They just moved too fast and they just couldn't cope with it. And something's going to happen. And I just don't really want to be around when it does. It's
Hopefully
really
we'll
scary.
be dead by then. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't prophesize the doom thing that he is the imminent danger.
Do you see it as a good thing then?
I see it as a very good thing because as information tends to be more and more general and free, people learn more. It's like you turn on Discovery Channel, you start picking up things. You can find a little about quantum physics. You can find about World War II. Like 40 years ago, ask someone about a nucleus, they're like, even 20 years ago, they'll just stare at you blankly. But now you can watch a PBS special on it, and you can pick up all this general knowledge. And it is the same thing with the computer thing. It's going to start spilling over. So third world countries might not no longer be third world countries. They could start getting this technology by calling you up and downloading all your information, And so it'd be easier to teach people,
So you're thinking of this as this being
a big teaching tool that could raise the living standards, everything, because you're educating people. This is helping educate. Fortunately, the socializing aspect is very...
What was that joke you said you heard a comedian say that I thought was really funny?
Yeah, I was about to bring that up. See, the problem is they're trying in cyberspace to make it look more real, like grass look like grass, sky look like sky. And this comedian actually said it best. He goes, when I was their age, they called it the outdoors. Just open the door, people. Get out, all right? Thank you. But that's basically the problem. They're just going to be sitting around going, oh, this is great grass. It's like, well, look, grass.
Here's some right here, people.
Go outside. Get away from that computer screen.
Like I said, the information, in theory, as long as there's barriers to protect people from, hoarding information and also keeping people from getting information they shouldn't get, because of course you have to have some secrets. You can't if someone decides a way to blow up the world, you don't want to give that around. You don't want some guy a postal worker who was going to walk into the office tomorrow morning with an Uzi having that information. So
he can do it all at home on his computer now.
Right.
I don't have to buy bullets.
Basically. So it's got to have little countermeasures. Checks and balances, I guess.
Yeah, it always freaks me out when I see that AT&T commercial with Tom Selleck. Don't worry, you will. Big Brother's going to be watching you. Yes, he will. Okay, well, anyway, we're about to wrap it up now. This has been Online. I'd like to thank my guests, Sean McCarthy and Rob Palangi. And maybe we'll have another episode where we'll talk about computer viruses and about cyberspace. So keep looking out for that one, too. Sure. All right. Anyway, I'm about to wrap it up. My name's Bill Flaherty. You probably already know that.
You might
Bye. See you on the computer boards. Just kidding.
See you online.
See you online.
Okay, well...
That was pretty fun.